Guys examine science closely, scientists and what they're doing. It's not really much different than what they, they've done with religion. Okay. Uh, Basically, all science is excessive, uh, compulsive, irrational activities in the name of human supremacy, and then when they're not doing that, they're discussing the possibilities and debating comic books on whether or not they could be true or not. And it's Yokaku and that other guy. Oh, yeah, alien people could build this big giant thing that could go from here to there, so we could go from that planet to this planet in breakneck speed. Why would you want to do that? Why would you destroy creation to invent things that take you to places where you don't know them, that would make things unstable and possibly put all creation necessitated for your physical existence at risk? That's crazy as the what they do with religion, and then debate it, comic books, and then it's insane. And the most disturbing part about it is in Revelation, it says your faith has to be based on reality, right? It says in there, I've read it, I only read it once, but it says in there that the people screaming for the world to be destroyed and rebuilt or whatever are the devil, are Satan and Satan's minions, and that Son of Man is the one, saying we should live the commands of Jesus Christ and live world peace. It's also in the Quran. So that the Lord is, the eternal spirit of the Lord is saying, let's live the commands of Jesus Christ, and let's love one another, and then let's appreciate what God has given us to have the life of sacrifice and continue the life of sacrifice. As far as any of the things about the big spaceship thing and they're talking about and stuff like that at the end of the book of Revelation, which I've read and they had me read in Sierra Vista. If you add to or take away from this, it won't make any sense, and you won't live the faith based on reality, the truthful, faithful love. So I can't tell you, if we're supposed to build a big ship and go somewhere else to live, or if we're just supposed to live out our lives here and die on a planet that was born to die, like Bob, like Marvin Gaye, who's willing to try to save our sweet world that was destined to die, right? Would you put other people's solar systems at risk to try to save your life because you didn't live your life faithfully? Would you be Ryan Johnson and George Lucas and Gene Roddenberry and their disciples and put everything at risk throughout the galaxy because you didn't live the commands of the Lord, and you didn't honor the truth of creation? You tried to replace it with your own invention. Or are you willing to do that? That's your decision. You have free will. Right? And so it's particularly disturbing. And but life is eternal and grace is infinite. And as liberating and beautiful as that is, it's also, I get, from a woman's point of view, like Lori and Amy, this planet's like a prison and you just can't get off. It's depressing. Yeah. Like my boy LG said, on planet Earth, you can't leave, and they want their rent unless you pay it, It's like, yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. But yet, their most perfect person, agreed upon through most of their linguistics, said, forgive debt and trespass, love one another, eternal faithful peace, and you should do this, and your faith should be based on reality. And then you can only have love when you're faithful. And that's the truth. Tired. I went out and shot hoops tonight, and I'll probably do it some more. We'll soak tomorrow, and we'll start getting out and getting some sun soaking in. I don't know if I'll be able to do that too much tomorrow. I'll get up and do some yard work. And then tomorrow get the lawnmower fixed, and we'll get our lawn stuff cut. But I love people. I just wish they weren't so selfish and insane and so distracted. I, you sit there. I watched the thing they had. John Cicada and Melissa Etheridge and another group I wasn't too familiar with, and Luther Vandross and Benny King, singing at the inauguration, with all the military there and at the Lincoln Memorial. And it reminds you of Guy playing Wesley Snipes' Person's Wedding on New Jack Swing, right? So you do know those people take the military and go mass murder people in other parts of the world, and okay. Yeah, they get elected president, and they get up there. We're going to do all these great things, and it even happened to stuff with the Kennedys. Bay of Pigs, and and then they started and went into the Vietnam War, and they will go mass, order people to go mass murder the poor to maintain the status quo for the wealthy. And people will go and show up and serenade them and sing to them and sing songs, and you're just like, wow. If memories were all I sang, I'd rather drive a truck. But it's all right now. I learned my lesson well. No, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself. Have faith in God. Okay. Understand the natural laws given to us by infinite glory to have an eternal existence through faithful love and holy covenants. And don't try to come up with limericks to be famous and pay your bills. All you'll do is just entertain a bunch of mass murderers who think they're powerful because they can tell psychotics what to do over money because it's a brain chemical addiction, right? We've known this since the Roman Empire, right? And the Egyptian Empire. With all those people that went to go chase down those women and children that were slaves and try to mass murder them because it would have been bad PR and caused civil war if they'd done it within the city, because there was people that, when you have people as slaves for 500 years, it could cause a revolt if you try to mass murder them in the city. So you get them out in the desert, She met him one night in Laredo, just a wild comachero, they say. And you mass murder them in isolated areas. So there's no bad PR. Bad public relations thing, the thing with the lady feeding the homeless people in the park in Bullhead City and Kingman, and the cop telling the people at the dispatch, this is a PR disaster. I don't think we ought to do it. Right? I don't think we ought to arrest her. It's a public relations disaster. And if you want to keep your job and you get elected, you probably lose your job over upholding hypocrisy. Because she was just feeding poor people. What would the disciples and Jesus do, right? Oh, man, I'm tired. It's very bizarre looking, isn't it? Yeah, they like to take pictures of a lot of things that are very, remote and bizarre, and, that's a little bit more like a John Wayne movie with Maureen O'Hara. The Quiet Man, I'm being silly. But, that's oceanfront property is a lot of times, I think, more rare than the norm. I think we have a lot more what we'd call property, real estate, that doesn't have oceanfront. Oceanfront's very nice and healthy and desirable, because you get lots of ocean breezes and stuff. It'll be less coveted and fought over once you forgive debt and trespass, love one eternal faithful peace, and stop driving combustible vehicles to forced extortion, exploitation for delusions of human success and power and authority through mechanization, like that. It's like that. It's crazy, And there's a book called the Holy Quran that strictly forbids doing that. It says it's abomination, and that you shouldn't warehouse people and build big monuments to your idolatrous genocidal insanity in the Holy Quran. Right? Wow. And then they have all these places, they show Dubai and all these places. Like, holy shit, that's one of the tallest buildings in the world. And you're like, good God. It says in the Quran, okay. They're Muslims. Okay. And these people are Christians. It's a Christian nation, right? That's why I think the scientific set of genocidal operators feel they're okay. That they're not as big of hypocrites. Okay. Where's the scientific validity to maintain nature, to understand things with science and any of this? You put your perception of your brain activity on a robot, right? And you destroy creation to maintain that discovery of what was already there that's no longer there through science, through invention. So you destroy all creation and then discover that you destroyed all the truth of your creation with your invention, and your invention is a mad brain trying to come up with the theory of everything, and realizes it can never possibly do that. If it flies into the sun like the rock with Ryan Gosling and stuff, it's never going to be able to know for sure through that theory what the sun is really working, what's really going on in there to an absolute certainty, because it will destroy itself in the attempt. Right? Hey, look. Are those emus or ostriches? Is that an emu or an ostrich? You guys know? Can anyone tell me? Is that an emus or ostriches? Don't know. But oh gosh, damn. Yeah, I realize I'm surrounded by people that are very, 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 very insane. I've understood that. My whole life when I was a little kid, and I was listening to that wackadoodle from Tulsa on the radio, reading the Book of Revelation, and scaring the shit out of everybody, and telling Jesus, this is stupid and it's crazy. I know it is, Earl. So I've known I've been surrounded by absolute insane, crazy people. I was raised in the Valley of the Shadow of Death. That's the Trinity site over St. Augustine's Pass. So I've known my whole life these people are creepy and psychotic and insane. Okay, that was not lost on me. I had a conversation with Jesus about it when I was a little kid. Okay, Jesus, this is hard saying they're crazy, and he said he agreed with me. You're right, they are. And it is stupid, and I said stupid. I was a little Mormon kid, I wasn't going to say, this shit is fucked up, Jesus. I said it was stupid, and he agreed with me. I was a little Mormon kid, so I wasn't going to say this shit is fucked up. Especially to Jesus. You know what I'm saying? And so I never see Jesus as an omniscient, omnipotent God. No, never have, not once. I see him as my Lord and Savior and my best friend. That's how I see Jesus Christ. I don't see him as an omniscient, omnipotent God that watches little girls get raped to death in brothels in Mexico and does nothing because it's not time to do anything about it yet, because corporations haven't made enough money with science projects, and It was real exciting to make those nuclear weapons and test them on the Tularosans, then go drop them on the Japanese and the Okinawans, I don't see Jesus the way you see Jesus. Okay. I see Jesus as my Lord and Savior and my best friend. That helps me through all the hard times. And then helps me try to obey his commands so those children migrating don't get raped to death in brothels in Mexico. When they told me about that in Sierra Vista, I had to get up and do whatever I could to try to get it to stop. I just couldn't sit aside and be in the military hub of military intel and not get up and do and say anything about it when they told me what was going on. It was just too heinous and too wrong. And I had to let the whole world know to the best of my ability. Like that night when that woman was getting raped in the alley in Cumberland County in Bunny Dune, North Carolina. And Steffi, what are you doing? And I was, in my boxer shorts and trying to get my pants on, and I couldn't, so I just jumped in my combat boots we keep by the bed and came running out the front door to grab a rock off the fence and go upside the rapist's head. And the two cops pulled up and shined the light on me and told me to go back inside. I was going to get arrested. And I was going to be the one accused of it. And I was like, but there was somebody screaming she was getting sexually assaulted in the alley. And what would you do? What if that was your sister? All I could think of is, what if that was Pancha or Patrice? Because Patrice was raped by George Montgomery at a Job Corps in Phoenix. And if Earl had been there, George Montgomery would have had a rock go upside his head. Anything I could find, Like I told that linebacker at Deal Valley High School, which piece of weight equipment do you want to hit your head off first? I ain't going to stand right. I ain't going to let you kick my ass. I ain't going to let you talk shit to me and disrespect me. It's on. I don't see it as macho bullshit. No. Macho bullshit is what he did. Me standing up to him so he can't bully people. Macho bullshit is what Goliath did. Okay. David wasn't full of macho bullshit. He was kind and complimentary and respectful. Samson, macho bullshit was what the Philistines did. Samson was kind and complimentary and protecting of women and children and had everybody work together to bring in the food that we all needed so we could respect one another. I see myself like I tried my best to be like my Lord and Savior and my best friend, right? How about you? Faith based on reality. If you don't love him, that's your decision, but I don't believe you when you say that he's your God and that you love him, because I've been standing up on social media since 2009 out of Cochise County for us to all live the Lord's Prayer and live his commands so we can live the world peace and stop tribalism and human trafficking through economics and bad science projects through mass murderers. And you won't get up to help me a lick. So I don't think you would have gotten up and said, I believe Jesus Christ is Lord. And I don't think you would have been killed for your faith in the Roman Colosseum. And I don't think you would have stood up like Peter and Paul and John and said Jesus Christ is Lord and we should all obey his commands and not obey mass murderers with money and armies that mass murder people because they feel that might makes right. And whoever has the best science projects wins the game over money. It's a game changer. I hate hearing that every time I hear that. Every time somebody that's supposed to be a physicist and a science, that happens, that'll be a game changer. What? If those people get nuclear weapons, that will be a game changer. Okay, they're supposed to be Muslims. They're supposed to forgive debt and trespass, love one, eternal faithful peace. You're supposed to be Christians. You're supposed to forgive debt and trespass and love one, eternal faithful peace. And guess what? That applies in physics. Apply it in physics. Okay? That means you can do science projects without having to ask psychopaths that murder each other over money for the resources to do the science projects that need to be done, so we can all be safer people and we won't destroy creation to try to replace it with our invention. Good physics, right? Good shit, huh? Sergeant Yee. Good. It said good stuff, huh? But it was actually good shit, huh? Yeah. He'd probably say shit in front of Jesus. Yeah. Most of you would. Like what? I vote for president for money to mass murder my enemies, and I love Jesus and he's my God. You would say shit fuck in front of Jesus, right? You just did right there. Right. So I don't trust you. I love you. My love is unconditional. My trust and like, you know. Um I try my best to like a lot of you. You're so distracted and so, you know, seeking the attention of the devil and Satan and approval and success from them. You know, it's like I try to like you, you know, it's just hard. Trust you? I don't trust you half as far as Jealous Darling does Johnny Rodriguez. Love you always and forever. Okay. We'll talk tomorrow. I'm gonna go to bed and get some sleep. And I don't want to say try harder. How hard is it to admit you're wrong, love your children, and live the truth of Messiah? It's not hard at all. It's easy. Okay? Take my hand and pull me down. I won't put up any fight, 'cause I'm easy. Right? I love you, man. We'll talk later, all right? Peace out. Definitely, I'm not real fond of the splash pads and stuff either. Getting wet out in the... I used to could when I was younger. I've never been really like a water balloon type person either. Steffi and her family was really into those and stuff and water fights and stuff. You know, plastic, that's death and decay from people mass murdered throughout the world to sell petroleum products. So, and the water pistols, I think if we're living the Lord's Prayer and we use the little water pistol things to do that instead of shoot each other with automatic weapons, you know, I think that'd be pretty tolerable. The people, the living that have come to pass and their death and decay, you know, containing things with water to splash each other to have a good time and cool each other off when it's hot. I think if I was a dead person and you used my death and decay for that, or used it for, you know, containers to keep food so my kiddos can eat, that'd be tolerable to me. But using it for war machines to extort and exploit and drive cars to cause disease and mass murder each other with those war machines, I think that's an abomination to do with the death and decay of my beautiful body. Wouldn't you say? I know I'm extraordinarily intense. Well, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior and best friend. What can I say? We'll talk tomorrow, all right? Peace out.